with your teams as a leader? Well, in this video, we're going to talk about why this struggle is real and it's something that a lot of leaders experience. Now, I focus on women in leadership on my channel in terms of my direct audience that I provide executive coaching and consulting services to. But if you're a man in leadership, you're going to learn a lot of information from this video as well. This is a Q&A. If you have some questions, maybe you are struggling with a boundary specifically that you've been having a really hard time setting with your teams in the workplace, then let me know in the comments below whether you are watching the video live now or if you are watching the replay. Either way, I will respond to your question. I want to give you some insight in terms of why setting boundaries are so challenging for people, especially as leaders. But before I go into that, I want to share with you the entire month of December of 2025. We talked about boundaries, and more boundaries. If you are new to me or if you are a subscriber, I'm so glad that you're here, and you may want to take a look at the boundary series that we had during the month of December, because it will give you some more in-depth insight in terms of some strategies that you can use to help you overcome those challenges as it relates to setting up boundaries. I do want to have as a refresher the 5 boundaries that you may want to consider working on if you have not had the chance to watch the videos from my live tab as it relates to boundaries for the month of December. And the 5 boundaries that you want to work on, and before I say that, there are many boundaries, right? There's a ton of boundaries that you have to work on, but the 5 that I would narrow down for you are the following: the money boundary, the energy boundary, the time boundary, your personal boundary, and your professional boundary. Those are 5 boundaries that will be a good starting place for you to start working on as it relates to yourself as a leader. Now, this is a Q&A, as I mentioned. So if you have questions in the chat or if you're watching the replay, then feel free to put them in the comment section and I will respond to them and we'll give you some strategies. But a couple of reasons why people struggle so much with setting boundaries is that we are not comfortable having those very difficult conversations to set them to begin with. This specifically is one of the reasons why I started my business and decided that I wanted to do something a bit differently as it relates to communication for leaders specifically, because there's so much information out there as it relates to how do you communicate, what do you do, and etc. However, what happens when you have a challenging conversation? What happens when you have to go under pressure? That is my expertise, and that is what I want to talk to you about today. So for those of you who are joining, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here this morning with me, or afternoon or evening, depending on what time of the world you are watching this video. This is a Q&A. Ask me any questions as it relates to setting boundaries as a leader. If you are in a situation where you feel like you have either one of the 5 boundaries I mentioned, time boundary, money boundary, energy boundary, personal boundary, or professional boundary, that you might be struggling with on your journey, ask me any questions. I'm here to support you any way that I can. And you're welcome to subscribe to the channel if you like this information and you want to learn how to communicate at a higher level than your peers. This is the best channel on YouTube for you to learn from, especially if you're trying to communicate more confidently and concisely under pressure. If you're a woman in leadership, you're welcome to reach out to me for some additional support at www.exciteexcellence.org. If you're a man in leadership, you're going to learn a lot of information from this channel as well. I want to say hello to Juan Leva. Hello, Juan. Welcome. I have not seen you on the channel before. Welcome. Good to see you today. Juan says, wow, you are beautiful. Made my day. Well, thank you, Juan. I appreciate that. Hope you're doing well. Juan says, thank you, 8:30 a.m. New York. So Juan, I am in South Florida. So you see, I have a jacket on. I'm sure you have a parka on, because I know it is cold up there. So it's cold here also. But good to see you. I'm glad that you're here. And thank you so much for stopping by. We have Jay Caramel Kisses 3 says, how are you feeling today? Jay Caramel Kisses, I am doing fantastically well. Every day I'm able to go live with you all and provide any insight I can to help you all on your journey. Is an amazing day for me. Juan says, you teach lawyer? No, I'm not a lawyer. I will say that. I'm at my profession by nature. I'm an executive coaching consultant. But prior to then, I was a dentist. However, I have spent a lot of time with different congressional leaders on the highest levels of government here in the United States and in the Sunshine State of Florida here. And I don't teach like a lawyer, but I do have some insight on law because I've read pieces of legislation over the years and been able to give feedback to them. All right, so Juan says, what's up, new here? Okay, great. Well, Juan, first, you're in New York, and so I'll give you a bit of backstory on me quickly, and then we'll talk about some strategies as it relates to setting boundaries. One, I actually spent my general practice residency in Bronx, New York. So I'm very familiar with New York. I lived in Bronx for a bit of time. And then from there, I spent time in Rochester. So I've been in New York. I've stopped by Albany briefly, but I've actually lived in Rochester. So I don't know what part of New York you're from, but good to get to hear from you. Now, this channel is heavily focused on advanced communication skills and strategies. There's a lot of information about communication skills, especially as leaders on YouTube. My channel focuses specifically on how do you communicate confidently and concisely under pressure. Under pressure situations, or those very high stakes, high pressure situations, will be when you're going into an interview, when you are negotiating your salary, when you're at the point where you are trying to present in front of a group for a board meeting, or maybe you're a business partner, you're an entrepreneur, perhaps you're a public official and you're having to manage question and answer sessions, you're having a difficult conversation. I could go on and on and on, Juan. So this is what my channel focuses in on. Specifically, my target audience in terms of who I provide executive coaching and consultation services to are women in leadership in other organizations. So in your case, you're a man in leadership, you're going to learn a ton of information here. I guarantee you will learn something that will help you communicate at a higher level than your peers. That's why I'm here. That's my whole mission here on this earth. I genuinely believe that people become great by how they communicate. And so my mission here on this earth is to unlock the greatness within you. And I do that by showing you how to communicate at that high level that other people do not know how to do. So that is why I'm here. Juan says, yes, 3 layers of clothes code. Yes, absolutely. It is cold. It is cold. If it's cold down here in South Florida, I know it's cold up there in New York. So I appreciate you. All right, Juan says, okay, why did you move to Florida? Actually, I'm from North Carolina. So I've lived there for a majority of my life. I've lived in New Orleans, I've lived in California, I've lived in Texas, and of course I've lived in New York, and I've lived in Florida. And I've been in Florida the longest amount of time. For me, I lived in the cold. Does that make sense? I lived in North Carolina for most of my childhood, and I just love Florida. I love the Sunshine State. I love everything about it. It's where I live in South Florida is where I want it to be, and it's just the hub of so many things. There's so many events that happen here, especially I live down the street, literally about 30 minutes from Miami. And so there's a lot of events here, and especially as an entrepreneur, this is a really good place to be. Every time when there's big events, like for instance, there was an Aspire Tour event, for those of you who may not know what that is. They had a lot of well-known entrepreneurs there. Kevin O'Leary was there, Jordan Belfort was there, Wolf of Wall Street. If you have watched that movie or kind of know what the persona was about that. Gary Vaynerchuk was there, Renee Rodriguez was there, Jen Gottlieb was there, and several other people. And I attended the event. And this is one of the reasons why I love Florida, is because, or this part of Florida. I've lived in other parts of Florida that are nice, but South Florida is really home, because this is the place where you grow. And New York is like that too. New York is the place where you will absolutely grow as a person. So that's the reason why I moved to New York. Now, for those of you who are joining, welcome. We have New York in the live today. What other parts of the big, beautiful world are you all joining from today? Let me know. And let me know what questions you have about setting boundaries specifically. As I mentioned, and one more thing for you, and for those of you watching, I typically go live unless there's something happening in the mornings, in the evenings, Tuesday through Friday. Therefore, I will be going live later this evening also, and we may continue this conversation there. But just know I'm here to support you any way that I can. Feel free to take a look at my live videos. I have a lot of information here. There's some videos, if you're new to me, that you might want to check out that can help you just to get started with developing those very advanced level communication skills. Think on your feet. Eye contact, tone of voice, managing difficult conversations, controlling your emotions under pressure. Videos like that are really great places I tell my new audience members to start. And you're welcome to subscribe if you like this information. So we have Peg Etz. I'm driving, friend, and I'm sorry if I didn't say it. Let me see. Pegetti 3397 says North Sentinel Island here. Well, welcome, welcome. Hope you're doing well today. I understand about the island life. I've lived there very briefly, so I know island life can be fun, can be challenging at the same time. But as I mentioned, the reason why people struggle with setting boundaries specifically is because, one, they don't know what boundaries to set. They know that they're struggling with something in the workplace as leaders, and they know that something doesn't feel right. Have you ever felt like that, where you felt like something just doesn't feel right? Maybe you're feeling tired, maybe you're feeling frustrated with the job that you're in. Something's not right. And the reason why I narrowed it down to those 5 boundaries that I mentioned earlier: the time boundary, the money boundary, the energy boundary, the personal boundary, and the professional boundary, because typically it's one of those boundaries that might need some attention, where you need to set those boundaries. Now, if you have any questions, maybe there's a boundary that you specifically are struggling with, then let me know in the comments below. If you're watching live or if you're watching the replay, I will give you some insight to help you be able to determine how can you start setting this boundary so you can have and start living the life that you want to live. Another reason why people struggle with setting boundaries, especially as leaders, is because we are sometimes a bit afraid of having those very difficult and challenging conversations. Let me know in the comments below if you feel pretty good about having hard conversations. Maybe you don't feel good about having hard conversations. And if you feel a little bit concerned about having hard conversations, then this is why you definitely want to subscribe to the channel for sure. Many times people are just not comfortable with conflict. And I share a lot of strategies here from my over 20 years as a C-suite executive, a director, and a manager, and a public speaker, to help you be more comfortable with hard conversations. And that's why sometimes people don't set those boundaries, because they're just timid, they're afraid, they don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But you have to remember, one of the analogies that I share on my channel when it comes to taking care of other people, because many of us take care of other people. We have loved ones, we have family members, we have our team members that we're taking care of, because if you are not the leader they need in a particular role, then how can you help the team be able to keep their employment opportunities? How can you help the business be able to generate revenue so it stays open? So we help each other in so many ways as leaders. But the one analogy I share with everyone, and I'll finish with this, is that whenever you fly on an airplane, and for those of you who have never flown on an airplane, there's typically a point in time where the pilot will let you know that if there's a problem with this aircraft, and there's a problem, we're going to have to do an emergency landing or something along those lines, you have to put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you put it on anybody else. Meaning that setting boundaries as a leader will help you to take care of yourself so that you can take care of everybody else. Oftentimes as leaders, we get so busy, we just don't think about this. We're so busy dealing with fires, dealing with issues, that we fail to forget that we have to take care of ourselves too. And this is something that's so important as it relates to boundaries. And I hope this gives you some insight for you to start your week. And as we are going into this new year, to think about, I need to take care of myself so that I can really take care of other people. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I appreciate you being here today. As I mentioned, there are several videos that will help you here on my channel. Feel free to start working on the videos that talk about eye contact, tone of voice, managing your emotions under pressure, and having difficult conversations. Those are the areas that people struggle with the most as leaders. Whether you are a new leader or a senior leader or a very seasoned leader, we all struggle with those issues. So I will see you all live in the afternoon or evening, depending on what time it is of the day in your world. And I hope you all have an absolutely amazing day. Bye for now.